All right, you get a fan and a chicken. It is Herb Kelleher. Herb Kelleher, the president of Southwest Airlines, although I don't know if he's still the president. He's not? Okay. But this is kind of an interesting story. How many people have flown Southwest and you've heard them do that spiel about the oxygen masks and everything? And it's pretty funny. Well, guess what? Everybody's listening because they want to hear what they're going to say. You know, please place the oxygen mask over your face so your lungs don't get sucked out of your body, and you know, stop screaming, put the oxygen mask on. You know, it's pretty funny stuff, but you know what? When they don't do that, have you watched what people do on airplanes when they're given the safety spiel? They get their nose in a book, or they're playing their video game, or whatever it is. They're doing everything but listening to the safety instructions. Very effective use of humor there. When everybody else in the airline industry was posting a loss, Southwest Airlines was posting a good profit. And they've been profitable every single year since 1973. How many airlines can you say that about? Not many. Very low turnover. People love working there. They handle a lot of flights every day. This number is about a year old. It might be higher than this. The people that work there love working there because they're encouraged to have a good time on their job. And they've got the lowest fares. Their stock performance has been stellar. They've had a steady growth. There are just all kinds of benefits that they've attained. Now, you got to say not all the benefits are due to humor, but I got to believe that humor plays a part in them achieving these stellar results. Liberal use of humor is encouraged, and so it's really helped make them successful and consistently successful. Those are real clothespins. Okay, I got a question for you. How many times per day does the average adult in America laugh? Yell it out. 0 to 1, I heard. 6, 7, 20? I got 20. I got 20. You hear 21? Anybody else? I heard 6 and 7. That's about right. It's actually 6 to 8 times a day. That's sad. How many people think they laugh enough on their jobs? I mean, you might actually have a pretty good crew that knows how to crack up, you know. But I think most people feel that's an area they can improve. 200 times a day is about right. Now, how do we know it's about right? Well, we know that maximizes the oxygen. More than that, you get diminishing returns, right? Maximizes the oxygen, keeps your mood high. If you can laugh 200 times a day, that's about once every 5 minutes while you're awake. That's not a real stretch. You'll be a much happier person. You'll love your job a lot more and all of that. Anybody know how often children laugh? Now I'm thinking 5 years old, kindergarten or pre-kindergarten. Somebody yell it out. Well, what, 350, 30, 500, 500? 1,000? You guys are all really close. About 400 times a day. Twice every 5 minutes. Do you know why? Because they think everything is funny. Any parents of 5-year-olds or grandparents of 5-year-olds in here right now? Am I right? They are looking at life as the most absurd and wonderful thing in the world, and everything is absurd and everything is hilarious. You don't see any burned out 5-year-olds. I'm all bummed. Kindergarten sucks. 5 years old. You don't see burned out 5-year-olds. They're happy. Everything, even bad stuff, they laugh about. Drop a jar of jelly on the floor. Look, it made a clown face. Somewhere along the line, we lose that, don't we? Somewhere between 5 years old and where we are now, we lose it. Now, granted, if you acted like a 5-year-old, that wouldn't go over very well at work or in any part of your life, really. But on the other hand, we lose that magic and that wonder, right? And we lose that happiness and that pure joy that comes from laughing and from humor. So, just want to throw that out there for you. Something to think about. It's not always possible or appropriate to make somebody laugh. You know, in the comedy business, we say 2 things. Timing is yes, that's a real head in the. Say timing is everything, and know your audience. I saw a comedian get up one time at a convalescent home, and he asked this lady to stand up, and she wouldn't stand up, and he said, "Come on, you're not crippled." Well, she was. And in fact, about half the people in the room were in a wheelchair. And so his show didn't really go that well very good after that. You know, be very sensitive to the needs of the people around you is all I'm saying there. Certainly if it's yourself, there are times when all of us, don't feel like laughing. We've just gotten some bad news or something like that. Don't beat yourself up about it. You'll laugh when you feel better. I don't want you to go away and say, well, I should be laughing about this. There must be something wrong with me. No, I mean, there are just times when you can say, I'm sure I'll laugh about this later. You know, there are certainly times, as I said, know your audience. There are times when it's inappropriate to make somebody laugh. You need to take your cues from them. You need to know what's going on with them. Know your audience. It's an interesting thing that happened when Janet was sick. She had just taken, I think it was her 3rd round of Taxol and carboplatin chemotherapy. And one of the side effects, it makes you lose your hair. Well, I came into the bathroom and she was sitting at the counter looking at herself in the mirror. And her hair had just fallen out. I mean, from the back, she looked like some of these Holocaust victims. She had kind of wispy hair, but it looked awful. And she was looking at herself in the mirror like this. And I was just, this wash of compassion went over me. I just felt so bad for her, you know. And I certainly would not have made a joke at that point. But she looked in the mirror and said, I look like an ass with eyes. I didn't know whether to comb it or wipe it. The dynamic between the two of us changed like that. Suddenly, my mood elevated. Hers certainly was already up there. She was okay with it, and it made it okay for me. I didn't feel bad for her anymore. I felt, here's a woman who's embracing this. She knows she has to do this. She might as well make the best of it. So that's a true story. That just really cracked me up. You know, this is something that we've all tried to use humor, and you're met with a bunch of trout-faced stares sometimes. Something you might say might be really, really funny, and people will just be like, you know. And it's because it might be a situation where they're afraid to laugh, or they're caught in their own things going on, and they don't laugh. I want everybody to realize that when somebody is sharing their humor with you, they're giving you a gift. They're giving you the gift of reducing stress, opening the communications, helping you feel better, improving your oxygen absorption, all of those things, and acknowledge it. Don't give them a trout-faced stare, or even if they tell a bad joke, at least acknowledge, joke back with them, hey, keep your day job, or something. Different times where it's inappropriate to inject humor, you've received bad news. If you've just been laid off, you don't want to go up to somebody and say, hey, think of all the free time you'll have. When there's a lot of pain, somebody's in a lot of pain, it may be inappropriate. Where are you going? Where are you going? Where are you going? Restroom. Restroom. Okay. Are they gone yet? Okay, everybody hide. Okay, so when somebody's feeling a lot of pain, you don't necessarily want to joke around with them. Now, I've been in so much pain before that I started laughing because it's like, God, I can't believe something can hurt this bad. You might be able to make somebody like that laugh. But when somebody's dealing with a physical change, obviously, if I'd walked in and seen my wife looking at herself in the mirror and the first thing out of my mouth was, "It looks like an ass with eyes," that would probably have been inappropriate because I didn't know how she was feeling. But the fact that she said it made it okay. Know your audience. So a lot of common sense there you have to exercise. So look at the things that inappropriate humor can do to people. It can do all these things. It can hurt people's feelings, build resentment with them. It can get rid of all that trust you've built with them. It can increase stress. All of us have been the butt of a joke, and it made us uncomfortable or increased our stress. It can make people angry. It can get you fired, too. Notice something about those bullets? Aren't those the opposites of all the benefits that everybody was shouting out? That's why it's important not to use inappropriate humor. Some examples, public put-downs. Some people it's okay to do that with, and hopefully you know that they can take that if you do that. But this can be something that embarrasses people, and it can really make them angry. Sexual references, particularly at work, can make a lot of people uncomfortable and really shouldn't be done at work anyway. I'm sure you guys have a policy around that here. Anything that's prejudicial, certainly is a big taboo, and it doesn't matter whether it's just race-based or color-based or what their sexual orientation is or what their religious beliefs are. Stay away from that stuff. Don't even approach the line. Stay well behind the line. If you're a good comedian, you can stay away from that stuff and still get lots of laughs. So, be aware of cultural differences. Do you guys remember back in February, March, whenever it was, when the Dutch posted 12 cartoons about Muhammad? And those cartoons were very offensive to a lot of people in the Nation of Islam. And in fact, there was a lot of violence that came out from those cartoons. It was pretty insensitive to do that. And the newspaper that published those later gave a retraction, but it was pretty weak when you consider the damage that was caused. And I think people are still feeling some of that damage. There were tremendous retaliations because of that. Know your audience is the key there. Exercise your common sense. We all kind of have a good common sense for that kind of stuff. So. Some days your inner child isn't funny. Yes, they're drinking beer. Sometimes your inner child isn't funny today. And that's okay too. Like I said, don't beat yourself up if you can't laugh, but you can always get help. Go up to people and say, "Man, have you heard anything funny? I really need a laugh." Most people have a joke that they have on the tip of their tongue they'd be happy to share with you or something. After work, there are lots of things you can do. Watching a funny movie or a TV show. You can read something funny. Get on the internet. There's plenty of funny stuff out on the internet. Hang out with your funny friends. I have funny friends like James. We hang out and we just cut each other up, Go to a comedy club. Watch the masters. Pay them to make you laugh, Laughs Comedy Club is a tremendous resource for this town for that. And they get some really funny comedians in there. Incidentally, James is a comedian. He performs pretty regularly at Laughs. Okay, awakening your inner comedian. So I'm going to make you all comedians, okay? But what I really want to do is awaken the inner 5-year-old. Okay, so let's start thinking like, okay, what would we laugh at when we were 5? So what can you do there? Give each other permission to get silly every once in a while. There's nothing wrong with being silly. 5-year-olds are silly all the time. Some of us as adults, we can feel free to be silly sometimes, but we're kind of guarded when we do it at work. It's okay to be silly. Try and look at the funny side of things. 5-year-olds think everything is funny. Absurdity is funny to them. Absurdity to us is kind of tragic sometimes, and we need to kind of turn that around. I heard a great saying one time, I used to be disgusted, now I'm just amused. And I think that's a good thing to live by. Use humor in meetings and presentations. Laugh at yourself most of all. I laughed at every single one of you when you walked in here. No, laugh at yourself. Make fun of yourself. I was making fun of myself when I was doing this up here with Beverly. I wasn't making fun of Beverly. We're going to poke some fun at the labs. I like your comment about the benefits package or whatever it was, you know. That's a way of Sandia laughing at itself, laughing at its own culture. And you guys all responded with really great laughter. So. It's healthy to laugh at yourself. For one thing, you can't hurt somebody else's feelings if you're poking fun at yourself, right? So it's good to laugh at yourself. Breaks down all those barriers, gives everybody a gift. So what can we do to make each other laugh? Recalling funny personal events. We all have a long list of things that made us laugh. All you have to do is kind of keep them in your back pocket and share them with people. Very easy thing to do it. The most embarrassing time at a meeting, I have a funny story to tell you. This is a true story. It happened to a gentleman named Bud. I won't give his last name because there are probably a lot of people here that know him. But he was giving a presentation to a bunch of pretty highly placed Air Force folks. And it was at a time when we didn't use PowerPoint. We used those ViewGraph foils, you know, the transparencies, and put them on the thing. Well, Bud was a physicist. He was the original absent-minded professor. He was one of those guys couldn't walk and chew gum at the same time. And Bud had a pointer. And it was one of those ones like a car antenna, you know, you can pull it out like that and it collapses down to the size of a pen. You can put it in your pocket. And he had this thing out. And he was getting this mojo going. I mean, he had the pointer in his hand. He'd grab his slide with his right hand. He had the pointer in his left hand. And he'd put the slide on the projector and with a sweeping motion go up and point to the things on the slide. This was a tall task for Bud. Remember, he couldn't chew gum and walk at the same time. So once he got into his presentation, it was a thing of beauty. He's doing this, he's doing this. And he caught the little clip, the pocket clip, through the square hole on his zipper, on his pants. And he couldn't get it off. He's like, and he turned his back to everybody, you know, and things dangling between his legs. He's trying to get it off of there, and he could not get this thing off of the zipper. I mean, that's a 1,000,000-to-1 shot. But if anybody was going to do it, it was going to be Bud, right? And so he just collapsed it and just left it there and started going on with his presentation. And so he substituted his finger for the point. And he started getting his mojo back. He'd take the ViewGraph slide like this. Started getting his mojo back, you know. And he goes, he actually made that sound too. He goes like that, and he points up, and he is trapped underneath that ViewGraph slide, a fly. And this fly is projected about 3 feet high on the screen, you know, and it's doing this. And these Air Force guys are in the back, biting the insides of their cheeks, you know, just. Finally, one of our guys asked him, "Bud, you having trouble with flies today?" And the room lost it. And that is a true story. And you guys all know stories like that. I know you do. So when you go into a meeting, you're waiting for everybody to join the meeting, share a funny story. You're not doing anything then anyway except waiting. It's not costing the company any time if you share that story, right? A thing that happened to you at your cousin's wedding, I have a comedian friend that used to say, "My gang thought the wedding cake was a piñata." Make your work tasks playful. Try and make your work play. You know, use humor to do that. You can make up games. This improvisational thing is just a made-up game. Make up goofy games that you can do in 3 minutes, you know. Take frequent laugh breaks. There's lots of lost time in our day. There's lots of times where we're waiting for something. Take those opportunities as times where you can get, get a dose of laughter, that medicine called laughter. Good example, waiting for people to join a bridge. You guys have a conference called Bridges, right? And you're all sitting there going, who just joined? Who just joined? Well, while you're waiting for people to come into the bridge, share a story with everybody. Or say, who's got a joke? Might boost the tone of your whole team. Those 5 minutes between meetings, I got to get to this other thing. If you can, even if you're just walking to a meeting, try and recall something that consistently makes you laugh. Gently, and I mean gently, drag people out of their seriousness. We talked about that person that's very hard to make them laugh. Drag him out of that, but be gentle about it. Make a humor list. Now, you guys were all given a handout, and you'll see a thing on there called Dare to Laugh Toolkit, Humor Toolkit. And you don't need to do it right now, but list the top 5 things that you see or do that consistently make you laugh. And when you do this, I want you to be very, very specific. You can say things, rather than say, watch a funny movie, talk about the movie. What is the movie? Or who stars in that movie that always gets you laughing? It's Steve Martin or something. Watch something with Steve Martin in it. Be very specific about things that make you laugh. I mean, recalling that Bud story to me always gets a smile on my face, even if I just recite it in my own head. Use that. When you need a laugh, when you're wasting that time between meetings or whatever, go to your little list there. Keep a list. You can put more than 5 items on it, and just keep that list handy so you can go back to it. I want to talk about job satisfaction at Sandia, because I know it's a pretty stressful environment here. There's a lot of pressure right now, a lot of rumors going around right now. I've talked to some folks. I was able to get my hands on a statistical survey. They surveyed 100 random employees. Was anybody part of that survey? Okay, it obviously wasn't these employees. How about people in California? 3, okay. They talked about things like job satisfaction and the inverse of that, the frustrations, perceptions of Sandia Labs management, pride in Sandia's innovations, work-life balance, how well they balance their life with their work, and retirement. So, I want to issue a caution before we go into these. There's some stuff in here that's going to be very shocking to you that you probably haven't seen before. Now, if you take this seriously, make sure you address your complaints to the Human Resources Department by either one of these means. Human Resources has asked me to communicate these 2 means when you want to register a complaint. One of them is this. Just push the red button, okay? And the other one is this. You just take a number and wait, okay? Those are the acceptable ways. So if you find anything in here offensive, what you're going to see, just make sure you go to your Human Resources Department and do one of these things. So we're going to talk about job satisfaction. Paperwork is a frustration here. Is there a lot of paperwork here? Boy, there's a heck of a lot of paperwork here. It's pretty bad. So. Stretch goals. Everybody wants you to do a little more than what you originally agreed to, and they call them stretch goals. These are our stretch goals. So here are some Sandia employees exercising their stretch goals. This guy on the left, I mean, what possessed him? Leadership, let's talk about leadership. Clarity of our leadership was something that was very important to people. Staying the course. I mean, once you set a direction, you want to make sure your leaders can stay the course. And also, you want to make sure that there's very good goal setting. And I know that some of these pictures just kind of summarize the things from this survey that we saw. We're laughing at ourselves right now, incidentally. So. What's Sandia Laboratories' employees' perception of their management? Well, in terms of competence, This is what people think of the management pipeline. I can tell by your raucous laughter that there's some truth in this, right? What was it? Beverly, can you explain that? Must be a scientist. You guys have two-in-a-box management here? Yeah, here's kind of what people think of that. Those of you in the country know that's called a two-hole. Pride in our innovations. We've done some wonderful things here at Sandia. Sandia invented the first bottle opener attached to a computer. Another one, electronic document archiving. That's really big here. And we've got some folks that have really come up with some innovative ways to think outside of the box on that.